Prediction markets like Kalshi and Polymarket, they're spreading fake and misleading news, potentially impacting betting markets and also raising serious concerns about American democracy. Right? Because if you're not familiar, prediction markets, they allow people to bet on the outcome of news events. And so we're talking about everything from election results and sports to when Jesus will come back and exactly how long Karoline Leavitt's press conference will last. And these markets specifically, Kalshi and Polymarket, they've exploded over the last year or so, gaining widespread mainstream popularity, and they're handling billions of dollars in weekly trading. And a part of that enormous success is because these platforms have marketed themselves as legitimate, responsible financial institutions and truth machines driven by hard data, where they claim that they cut through the noise of the news, providing more accurate information about the state of the world and estimations of future events because their data gauges what ordinary people think will happen. And specifically, you have supporters arguing that the pooled wisdom of the people is a more reliable source for forecasting than traditional media, polling, commentators, and experts, which carry their own biases. They also say that people who bet money are incentivized to filter out emotional bias and look for objective data because they have skin in the game, and so the financial stakes here, they add a level of accountability that those other sources lack. But then you also have many critics hitting back, arguing that there is no reason to think that these metrics are a better predictor of the future, saying one, the platforms represent a very small subset of the public, people who are willing and wealthy enough to place bets. Also, research has shown that these sites are dominated by young men who have higher risk appetites and are prone to gambling. And as places like Better Markets explains, the data from these platforms don't offer any kind of ultimate truth because absent inside information, the users on these sites are no more likely to know whether a candidate will win an election or a team will win a game than anyone else. Right? Unless people using these markets are insider trading, which is a very real concern, but that's also a separate deep dive, but they don't have any special knowledge otherwise. And so separate from the concern of insider trading, we're talking about people that are making bets off of their own information, which they presumably got from the same experts, commentators, and outlets that prediction market supporters claim are biased. But then also beyond that, these markets are incredibly susceptible to manipulation. A well-funded person or group, they could easily make a bet so big that it skews the odds of a prediction market. Then they could turn that around and try to use that shift as proof that the event they bet on is becoming much more likely. And the implications there, they're alarming for a number of reasons, but they become especially alarming when it comes to elections. Say, for example, a bad actor places a huge bet in an election that artificially sways the odds to make it look like a certain candidate has increased support or is more likely to win than their opponent. If we all of a sudden take that as a real indication of who's going to win an election, which these markets say we should, it creates a bandwagon effect. Very quickly, you have even legacy media outlets reporting about the spike, which gives it even more credibility and creates momentum for that candidate, which then gives them a higher profile and attracts more supporters. And then all of that manipulation, it could prompt donors to flock to a candidate or pull funds from someone, and it further advances different campaigns. But then some voters deciding to vote a certain way because all of a sudden they want a monetary gain, and others maybe actually just not even voting because it looks like the election's a foregone conclusion. But it can basically create a self-fulfilling prophecy where a candidate can win an election just because one person bet so big on their victory that it skewed the odds. And so more and more, it looks like these are incredibly powerful tools for political influence, and that's especially true because you have experts also saying that the very structure of these markets actively incentivizes the spread of misinformation. For one, it gives people a motive to spread unverified claims so that they can manipulate the odds and then directly profit from how the markets react to their manipulation. Or things like shorting a market and then spreading negative rumors to drive prices down. And that same logic can be applied to political interference. A bad actor, either domestic or foreign, could similarly profit from spreading misinformation by betting against a candidate and then attacking them with deep fakes or fake news bots to crash their market odds. And that becomes especially alarming given the fact that Kalshi and Polymarket have both actively been caught spreading false claims that could influence their own markets on numerous occasions. Right, despite their claim that prediction markets are more reliable than news media, both platforms have increasingly been wading into the news waters using their social media accounts to pump out tons of content, effectively becoming viral news sources with posts that spread faster and further than verified reporting. And I mean, these accounts, they've been accused of prioritizing engagement over factual accuracy. But as you had a recent Axios report noting, these platforms design content that sparks outrage, big reactions, and rapid sharing, even if that content turns out to be false or misleading. So you have things like a few weeks ago, Polymarket randomly claimed on X that Jeff Bezos told aspiring Gen Z entrepreneurs to start at real-world jobs like McDonald's or Palantir before starting a business. A post, by the way, that is still up, even though it received a community note after Bezos issued a statement rejecting the advice and accusing Polymarket of just making the quote up. Polymarket's Twitter account also posted and then deleted a false claim that Trump had deported so many people from Minnesota that the state was going to lose a congressional seat after the census. That account also incorrectly reported that Iran's regime had lost control of Tehran during a nationwide communications blackout, which was a time when independent reporting on the protests was essentially impossible. And I mean, also amid the chaos over Trump's Greenland threats, Kalshi falsely claimed that the US and Denmark were in technical talks to buy the island. Right? And these platforms, they've also made the fake news problem even worse by giving affiliate badges to influencers who spread false or satirical news. And again, these are just some of the examples. We've also seen Polymarket repeatedly targeting big MAGA ops like Zoran Mamdani and Representative Ilhan Omar with what Axios described as false, misleading, or trollish claims. And that's also a very big thing because both of these platforms have deep ties to Trump world. Donald Trump Jr. is a paid investor to Kalshi as well as an investor in and an unpaid advisor to Polymarket. Now that said, there is not any direct evidence right now that Polymarket or Kalshi is intentionally spreading false information to benefit certain bettors, but we are are also talking about a whole market with almost zero oversight, regulation, and transparency. And separate from that, the fact that these platforms have repeatedly spread misinformation and kept so much of it up, it also shows that they are okay with fostering an environment where false information can flourish. And again, that's even when misinformation influences prediction markets that these platforms claim are sources of the ultimate truth.